Chapter 1. Red Valley Morning. Red Valley, Georgia, April 3rd, 1875. Fog lay thick as wool over the Georgia foothills when Matthew Finn rode in from the west, his horse's hooves muffled in the damp red clay. Dawn had only just begun its crawl over the ridgelines, bleeding pale gold through the trees, and the smell of river mud and pine sap clung to the air. Crows circled above the tall pines the way they always did this time of morning, croaking sharp warnings into the quiet. Matthew tugged the brim of his hat lower. He'd always loved mornings like this, still, cold, with nothing but the drip of dew off needles and the far-off crackle of some settler's fire. A man could almost believe the world was simple again. But he wasn't fool enough to believe it. Not in Red Valley, not in 1875, and not with a price, real or imagined, hanging over his damn head. His old sorrel mare, Juniper, huffed beneath him, a tired, crooked-eared thing, but she was loyal. She carried Matthew down the sloping trail toward the little settlement that locals, with far more optimism than evidence, called Red Valley Township. Really, it wasn't much more than a wide dirt road, a general store leaning like it wanted to collapse, a saloon that never seemed to close, a sheriff's office with a rusted star nailed above the door, a small cluster of barns and cabins, and a rail surveyor's campsite farther downriver where men in filthy shirts hammered metal stakes into stolen Cherokee ground. Matthew saw it all through the fog like looking into a faded photograph. He slowed Juniper to a trot as he crossed the wooden bridge spanning a muddy creek. Two local boys sat on the railing, fishing with twine and bent nails. "Who's that?" one boy muttered. "No idea," the other whispered. "But he looks real mixed up, like one of them Indian types." Matthew ignored them. Comments like that were the music of his life, predictable, dull everywhere. He rode straight down the center of town, boots tapping lightly against his stirrups, his father's old repeater rifle slung across his back. A few early risers watched him from porches. Farmers preparing for the coming heat, women sweeping dust, drunk men stumbling home from the night before. Then the church bell rang out across the sleepy valley. Not for service, for warning. The kind of sound that meant trouble walked among them. And Matthew knew, because trouble had followed him every mile from Tennessee to here, that the bell wasn't ringing for someone else. Red Valley General Store. Matthew hitched Juniper to the post outside Red Valley General and stepped inside. The doorbell gave a tired jingle. The interior smelled of coffee grounds, old leather, and something stale that might have been bread. Shelves sagged under sacks of flour, canned peaches, sewing needles, bullets wrapped in wax paper. Behind the counter, a heavy-set man with a white beard and sunken eyes squinted at him. "Morning, you're new," Matthew nodded, passing through. The man's eyes drifted to the repeating rifle on Matthew's back. "Long as you don't bring trouble with you." "Don't intend to." The shopkeep grunted as if he didn't quite believe it. "Name's Garrison Boone. Folks call me Alaric, but hell if I know why." Matthew offered a small nod. Matthew. He didn't give his surname. He'd stopped giving his surname in most places. Boone leaned across the counter, lowering his voice. "You looking for work, son?" Matthew hesitated. He'd been looking for nothing more than a meal and a day's quiet, but he had $3 to his name and a horse that ate like a devil. "What kind?" "Hauling supplies out to my farm, 4 miles east. Vandross boy's been making trouble. Steal sweet mash, break fences, shoot at livestock. Could use an extra set of hands, someone who ain't afraid to point a gun back at 'em." Matthew raised an eyebrow. "Moonshiners?" "Moonshiners?" Boone confirmed with a bitter sigh. "Half this damn county's full of them." Matthew considered. Protecting a settler from a moonshine family wasn't the worst job he'd taken. Hell, compared to the things Jonah Pike once asked him to do up north, it almost seemed moral. "How much?" Matthew asked. $2 for the day. Hot meal." Matthew nodded once. "I'll take it." Boone's expression lightened. "Good. We'll head out after the sheriff finishes his morning rounds." Matthew's stomach knotted at the mention of the sheriff. "Sheriff Roland Graves." The air outside changed the moment Sheriff Roland Graves stepped onto the main road. He was a tall brick of a man. Broad shoulder, mustache, cold blue eyes that didn't know how to soften. His coat was neat, boots polished, badge bright. Everything about him read discipline, but not the noble kind. More the kind a man used to justify cruelty. Two deputies followed behind him, each looking meaner than the next. The sheriff stopped dead in the centre of town, staring at Matthew Finn as if he recognised him, or wanted to. "You there," Graves called. Matthew didn't move at first. He kept one hand near the strap of his rifle, but casual-like. "Yes, sir," he answered evenly. Graves approached, boots crunching red dirt. He circled Matthew slowly, examining his heritage like a man inspecting a horse for flaws. "Half-breed?" Graves asked bluntly. Matthew kept his jaw tight. Irish father, Blackfoot mother. Graves' lip curled slightly. That explains it." "Explains what?" "That look, like you're a man who don't know where he belongs." Matthew didn't react to it. Behind his ribs, something smouldered. Graves tilted his head. "We've had trouble lately. Moonshiners, drifters, thieves. So when a stranger rides in with a rifle older than he is, well, it makes a man curious." Matthew said nothing. Graves stepped closer, close enough for Matthew to smell his cheap cigar smoke. "You planning to stay in Red Valley, boy?" "No," Matthew replied. "Just working for Boone today." Graves' eyes flicked to Boone standing inside the general store doorway. "Boone hiring you now?" the sheriff said, tone sharp and judgmental. "He get tired of local farmhands?" Boone cleared his throat. "Sheriff, man's just lending me a hand." "I wasn't speaking to you," Graves snapped. Matthew's jaw tensed again. Then the sheriff smiled without warmth. "Well," Graves said, "I'm sure I'll be seeing you around." He tapped his badge twice with one gloved finger, a reminder of power, then walked on, his deputies glaring at Matthew like dogs denied a meal. Boone exhaled loudly once they were gone. "Damn fool of a man," Boone muttered. "He's been sniffing everyone's business since the railroad surveyors arrived." Matthew said nothing, but the sheriff's eyes and that recognition in them stayed with him. It was the same look lawmen had given him in Tennessee, in Virginia, in Arkansas, the look of a man who believed Matthew Finn belonged in chains. A Cherokee girl with a basket of plants. As Boone hitched his wagon and began loading crates, Matthew walked Juniper toward the trough. There, kneeling by the water's edge, was a young Cherokee woman collecting river mint into a woven basket. Her skin glowed warm in the morning light, her long dark hair tied in a loose braid. She hummed softly, a song with a rhythm Matthew faintly recognized from being around his mother's people, though the words were Cherokee, not Blackfoot. She looked up at Matthew, eyes sharp and intelligent. "You're new," she said, "so I'm told." She smiled faintly. "I'm Maya Standing Thunder." "Matthew." She studied him, not with suspicion, but with careful curiosity. "You have your mother's people's look," she said, "but not the language." Matthew looked away. "Haven't used it in years." "You should," she said simply. "Language is a home you can carry, even when the rest is burned down." Matthew met her eyes then. Something quiet passed between them, understanding maybe, loneliness, recognizing loneliness. Before he could reply, Boone called from the wagon. "Matthew, time to ride!" Maya stood and adjusted her basket. "Be careful out there. The Vandross clan, they don't let go of a grudge." Matthew nodded. "I've handled worse." She gave him one last look, as if she already doubted that truth, then disappeared back toward the river path. The road to Boone's farm. They rode east past rolling peach orchards, brush-choked creeks and abandoned cabins where vines swallowed the walls whole. The wagon creaked, and the morning fog burned off into the hot, early sun. Boone talked as they traveled. Sheriff Graves wasn't always like that. War changed him. Reconstruction changed him more. Lost 3 brothers, lost his land, lost his patience with anybody that ain't look exactly like him. Matthew grunted. "Most lawmen I've met are the same," Boone sighed. "Graves has been getting worse since Jonah Pike's gang started running the hills." Matthew stiffened. Pike. That name struck like a blade pressed against his spine. He kept his voice calm. "You know Pike?" "Everybody knows Pike," Boone said. "You ride with him?" "No." "Good. Stay away from that son of a bitch." Matthew stared straight ahead. He had once ridden with Pike, briefly, too briefly, and the things he'd seen, he wished he could scrub them from memory. The ambush. They reached Boone's farm, a homestead overlooking a broad sloping meadow, a pretty piece of land, white fence, fat cows, 2 barns standing tall, except something was wrong. A gate lay broken, chickens dead, feathers scattered, a hog gutted and left to rot, whiskey still barrels cracked open. Boone swore. "Goddamn Vandross bastards!" Gunfire cracked from the tree line. Boone dove behind the wagon. Matthew slid off Juniper, rifle in hand, hitting the dirt in one fluid motion. Voices whooped from the hills. "Boone, shouldn't have hired you, no half-breed guard dog. Come on out, farm boy." 3 Vandross men emerged from the brush, shotguns glinting. Boone whispered, terrified, "We're gonna die!" "No," Matthew said calmly, "we're not." He waited, timed their steps, like his father had taught him. The first Vandross boy raised his gun. Matthew fired once. Crack. The man dropped like a stone. The second scrambled behind a stump. The third fired blind, missing wide. Matthew rolled, shot twice more. One bullet tore through the stump, splintering it. The second hit true. The last Vandross brother bolted downhill. Matthew didn't chase, but he shouted after him, "Tell your kin, Boone's under my protection, you come back." "You won't walk away." The man vanished into the trees. Boone stared at Matthew, pale. "Son, you ain't normal." Matthew didn't smile, just alive. But he knew what this meant. The Vandross clan would come for him now, and Moonshiner clans never forgave, not until every drop of blood was paid back. Boone's gratitude and a warning. Inside the farmhouse, Boone poured Matthew a tin cup of strong black coffee. His hand still shook from the ambush. "You saved my life," Boone said. "And my land." Matthew didn't answer. Boone continued, "Sheriff Graves is going to hear about this. Vandross men dead, he'll blame you." Matthew shrugged. "He already wants to." Boone swallowed hard. "Son, you don't understand. In this valley, Graves don't need a reason to lock up a man like you." Matthew's jaw clenched. Boone set a worn envelope on the table. $2, and something else. "If you want more work, I could use a man like you, but I won't ask. A storm's coming. One bigger than Moonshiners." "What kind of storm?" Boone looked toward the distant railroad surveyor camp, the kind that burns everything in its path. Matthew didn't reply, because the truth was, storms were nothing new to Matthew Finn. Storms followed him, they always had. Matthew stepped outside, letting the wind cool his face. Across the meadow, at the edge of the tree line, something moved. A figure. Tall, slick coat, wide-brimmed hat. A long rifle slung over his back, staring right at Matthew. Not Vandross, not Boone's neighbor, not Cherokee, someone else, someone watching him, someone familiar. The figure turned, slow and deliberate, and melted back into the pines. Matthew's blood ran cold. Only one man moved like that, Jonah Pike. The past he'd run from had just arrived in Red Valley.